Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Lindsay, the Tiny Home Lady, to the Let's Talk Tiny. This is my response from the 6 years of the work that I've been doing in the space of tiny homes on wheels, tiny homes on foundation, all the things to really assist people reaching their dreams and goals. So I love it. I already see some people here from Northern Virginia. We've got Susan from Lakeland, Florida. So go ahead and put in the chat where you're coming from. It's always great to know. We've got the broad, oftentimes the world, because the global conference led by Zach and Jason has attracted people globally. Hence why we call it the Global Tiny House Conference. Just super exciting.
Well, howdy, Lindsay.
Hello,
How's it going?
hello.
Hi there. How you
Hey,
doing?
hey, welcome, welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
all the Go Tiny stuff everywhere.
That's right. Gotta really be clear what I'm talking about here. And what I'm talking about is tiny homes,
That's
small
right.
homes. I've really kind of branched out. You and I haven't chatted in a while,
Yeah, it's been a little
into the
while.
world of foundation or wheels, because it's just naturally what has happened in a lot of the conversations that I've
Yep.
talked with people.
Yep.
But we're flowing people in. We got South Africa. I knew we'd have someone from around the globe.
Woo.
Awesome, Bruce. Thank you for being here. And everyone from this own country, US. Anyone on the West Coast? Anyone here? I know Zach, are you on the West Coast right now?
Yep, up in Oregon, just outside
Awesome.
of
Oh,
Portland,
Jennifer, welcome, welcome. Got Jennifer from California,
California.
Northern California. And I'm personally sitting right here in Ukiah, California, which is 2 hours north of San Francisco. And Zach, are you in Oregon?
Yep, up in Oregon, just outside of Portland. I'm actually at my parents' house right now. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Great. Got to get the Zoom thing all figured out, right? It's always the
Yeah, I'm
classic lighting.
stacked up on a couple of books. That's why I was actually late. I was like the lighting was like all blurry on my back. I was like, so
It's
yeah.
funny when we go to our main place. So I have two places. I have this
Okay.
office in my parents' home,
Okay.
and then I also have our tiny home,
Okay.
which is
Nice. Yeah.
currently getting resited. So for
Oh
anyone that
wow.
doesn't know, my own story in a nutshell, we found ourselves into the tiny home movement because we lived in Marin County. It's very expensive living there. We decided we also wanted to travel, so that really made sure that we knew we wanted the wheels. And this was back in 2017 when we opened our eyes into the world. And I actually knew Jay Schaefer. He showed me his designs early on, like in 2004. And from there, really, we found ourselves to a tiny home event in Arlington, Texas, and we found a builder. And then 6 months into our build, they went out of business. And so it became a surprise DIY. Zach is obviously a builder. I want to definitely have you welcome yourself for those that may or may not know you. But what happened from there is we just learned a lot about how to build our own tiny home, from certifications to the products that you put into them, to then living life on the road, off grid as well. We had solar system that we traveled with, onboard tanks, compost toilet, the whole jazz. And so fast forward now, I'm a tiny home broker, and I'm also a consultant and an educator. So those are really the ways I show up in this industry. And I feel like Zach, you and I have some interesting parallels, which is great to have more educators and consultants out there in the world. So share with us who you are, and we'll dive in more about the Global Tiny House Conference.
Absolutely awesome. Well, thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, as Lindsay said, my name is Zach Francis. I'm not Zach Giffen, but that's all right. Zach Francis, and me, my brother, and brother-in-law, we started a tiny house company about 10 years ago, and we started Tiny Heirloom. So we were the first luxury tiny house builders, pretty much in existence. And when we built and released our first luxury tiny home, pretty much everybody, not everybody, but probably like 40% of the people gave us flack and were like, oh, what are you doing? You're ruining the movement and stuff. And then 60% of the people were like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I've always like wanted a smaller space, but I didn't want to just like live in a tin shack type of a thing. So I think we kind of really hit the stride there. We started building quite a few of them, and then we were picked up by a TV show. So we had our TV show Tiny Luxury on our family ran tiny house business. We did that for about 5 years, and then And then we passed off the reins to Tiny Heirloom to some other people, and we moved on. But we kept the platform tinyhouse.com, and since we've turned it into like an educational platform, kind of like Lindsay was saying. So we're doing everything from educating people to hosting tiny house events, like the online one that's coming up in end of this month. So well, I'm sure we'll dive into that more, but that's a kind of a 30,000-foot view on me, my story, and the tiny house world and whatnot. So
Awesome, Zach. Thank you so much. So one of the ways I thought about this Let's Talk Tiny is really a live podcast show. I know it's a weird kind of combo, but I like doing things live because the questions that get asked,
yeah,
it's not like obviously with radio, we've got a live caller, but in a way that's kind of what we're doing right here. And
yeah,
then we get to
yeah,
take this and put this into the podcast world as well as the YouTube world on the replay. But for those that are here in person, on the Zoom call, then you would get your questions answered, which is so great. And really, I wanted this to be like informal. Where are we going to go with this? This is not, fully having a presentation available and all that stuff. That's the Go Tiny Pro Show. So I'm doing something every week. It's either the Go Tiny Pro Show on the 1st and 3rd and 5th, if there's a 5th week of the month. And that's really going to feature companies like our dear friends Gold Heat, like Radiant Floor Heating, also in Oregon. They've been part of my Go Tiny Showcase. So if we want to do like the deep dive on learning about electric radiant floor heating or a solar company or a builder or someone that's a professional in this industry that's really innovating, that is the Go Tiny Pro Show. And I've been busy working behind the scenes to get all the techs together. Zach knows all about this.
yeah.
We try our best to get everything perfect. And then, but I wanted to hit record. I wanted to get on with you. And I'm so glad you sent this out to your community. They showed up. So who here heard about this from Zach and tinyhouse.com? Say in the chat, like me in the chat, because obviously I was so busy putting together the tech behind the scenes, but we will be having a way for people to sign up for the Go Tiny Pro Show or the Let's Talk Tiny, which is really going to be more of like your podcast Q&A. Let's see where this thing goes. We're going to, keep it to an hour. And that's what we're going to do tonight. All right. We got Nico and Bruce and Susan and Rand. Yes, they all came. I love the community that you've created. This is so great. This is why I wanted to do this weekly and I wanted to do it live. Because you and I could get in a room right now and just be chatting with ourselves and then put it as a replay. But I just felt like, I really love the live audience. And of course I love live stages, things like at Tiny Fest when there's hundreds of people in the audience and all that, but we can't always be everywhere. And
Yeah.
this way we can do this. And obviously we've got South Africa in the house, all the way to Virginia and California. And we've also got Florida. So we're kind of covering the map.
Texas. Yeah, look at that.
I know, love it. Yay, Texas. Okay, so let's talk Global Tiny House Conference and take me back to what was the origin story of like where you were at the time of place when you thought we need to do something online? Was it pre-COVID? Was it during COVID?
Yeah, so I guess way back then, it was actually we'd had the platform tinyhouse.com for a while, but we weren't really doing too much with it. And, we didn't have like a clear vision, but COVID hit in March of 2020, pretty much, that's when everything started shutting down. And it was like, I think we ran the first event like mid-April or beginning of April in 2020. And so we pretty much were like, hey, we don't know how long this quarantine is going to last, but while everybody's in their homes, let's run an online event. And so we quickly threw it together. We reached out to a bunch of different speakers, and it was really cool how like the whole a ton of experts, a lot of different speakers and whatnot, they all came together and saw the vision of what we are doing, of like, hey, our goal is just to bring people together around the tiny house industry and tiny house community, and it'll help further the industry, but also just like have somebody to talk to and answer questions and all that sort of stuff. And when everybody's quarantined up in their home, we figured it was a good time to make that happen. So obviously nobody knew how long the quarantine was going to last, and we wouldn't have crammed it in so quickly if we knew that I was going to be stretched out much longer. But we gave ourselves like 3 or 4 weeks to put the whole thing together, and thankfully it all came together pretty smoothly, and we are pretty stoked about how I mean, we got a ton of feedback from a lot of different attendees basically saying like how impactful it was on their tiny house journey. And I believe that's even where we first connected with you, Lindsay,
Yes.
and then you helped us out on our next event as well, and so on. Kind of the rest is history from there. But yeah, I think that's where we got connected, and it was super cool to see the whole industry, like so many people who are either experts and already living in their tiny home and long ways into their tiny house journey, and then people who are just kind of tire kickers and interested but not really quite sure where they wanted to take their tiny house journey and so on. So it was really cool how we just had a mixed bag there.
Absolutely. And you gave me a great idea. I'm going to poll everyone right now. I want to hear from everyone. Are you in the dreaming stage, planning stage, or are you in the living stage? Like, if you're already living, just put living, dreaming, like, hasn't maybe like some of this is some of the planning stage. All right, we got dreaming, just dreaming, cool, dreaming, planning. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, planning might be that you've gotten on some calls, you've taken a look at designs, you're actively making an attempt probably on a weekly basis, I would say, because what I've learned from my own story, we dove in. Like I just, was on top of it. I made it our mission. I think when I get an idea and I go for it, I just like sink into it. So I was pretty quick. Whereas some people are a little bit further out. Planning, floor plans made. Oh, cool. Dreaming, already have a custom plan. That currently building. Yay, Tregle. Awesome. That is exciting.
Super
Okay.
cool.
So one of the things I remembered from that very first show is that Nick Mosley and I did a 2-hour Q&A.
Yep.
We had so much fun.
You
We
guys shut
started
the
with
place down. I
Ethan.
think it was over 2 hours.
Yeah. We started with Ethan. Ethan's like, I gotta go. And then Nick and I just kept going and going and going and going. And people wanted to stay there. And then we had those awesome social hours. Are we doing that this year?
Yeah, we're going to be doing some of that. It's we unfortunately we used to use the platform around the world, but they shut down. They kind of like pivoted and were acquired, and so I don't think we're going to be able to do like the speed networking or like
Yep.
the yeah, unless we can find another platform to make that happen, which we might be able to, but currently we don't have like that speed networking, which I thought was really cool, the one-on-one. But
Yes.
we'll have some like breakout rooms and whatnot. So
Cool. Yeah. You're using the Zoom platform,
yeah,
which
currently,
is what everyone's so familiar with. So
yeah,
anyone put in the chat if you attended one of the past global tiny house conferences, which I really love this tiny house world, by the way. I love that name. If anyone loves
yeah,
that name, say, yes, I love tiny house world. They need feedback, right? Feedback is always
yep,
helpful. Uh,
yeah.
yes, if you've already attended, say one in the chat. Attended back in
Okay,
2020.
okay, wow.
2021, I think. Awesome. This is great. So you've created a community, and that's something that yes, I have an email list, right? But that's not community. That's like people have heard from me, but having this banter and dialogue back and forth, especially, I mean, one of the things I really want to feature more people on the Let's Talk Tiny is people that live tiny. I mean, now I've got about 10 clients that have all gone tiny, which is super exciting. You
That's
probably
awesome.
have a number. How many homes did you guys build
We
in
built
total?
just about over 100.
There you go. So you could pretty much have, if you did you could have 100 days in a year where you just go back to all the people that are currently living tiny. Are they still living tiny? Did,
Yeah,
part of their journey, is the tiny home still involved in their world? Stuff like that.
yeah, that would be interesting.
How
Reach
does
back
that
out.
feel when you know there's 100 people out there that got homes by you guys?
Oh man, it's pretty cool, and I love that almost all of them were like completely custom and unique, and so they all had their their story behind why they were building their tiny home and what their use case was for it specifically. So obviously some people were using them for like short-term rentals, some people were using them to travel, some people were using them to like live in full time or put them in a backyard or whatever it is. All the just the different use cases and. Um, Actually, even one of our really good friends came from we built a tiny home for them, and then they were living in Florida, but after they came up to do the big reveal for the TV show, they said they loved Oregon, and they decided to just keep their tiny home up here, and they moved up here for like 4 years just about, and just recently they moved back down over to Florida again. But we became actually really good friends with them and whatnot, and went surfing with them, played soccer with them, all the different
Oh,
things. It was really fun. So yeah.
did they take their home to Florida?
So they didn't. They put it in storage right now, and so right now it's in storage, but they're keeping it because they're like it's such a special kind of place in their heart. And at some point in time, they really wanted to buy a piece of property out on the coast or something and put it out there, I believe. But right now they're just kind of focusing on what Florida's got for them. So
And you just nailed a little bit of what I help people do. I just recently did this in a social post. Do you buy the land first or do you go tiny first? And for some people, what I've really guided, we took a jump because we were already knew we were going to go travel. So we know we didn't need land.
yeah,
For some people, they're very clear on the land. Some people that aren't super clear. My recommendation is get the tiny home because when you find the land, oftentimes it's like, oh, I found this sweet deal. Oh, now I have to go get my home built.
yeah, yeah,
That may take a minute, right? And
uh-huh.
so worst case scenario, you get your homes in storage. That's the least amount you're ever going to pay.
Yeah,
Or if you live in an RV park where you can live in it, if you're flexible and mobile, being able to live many places, you'll have more options.
yep,
Not everywhere are there tiny home villages. I wish there could be everyone in like, we need dozens and dozens in every state, in every
yeah,
region of every state. Yeah.
yeah,
Because people want to like they have their job, they have the thing, and then they want to live there, but in community. And that is
yeah,
probably one of the
yeah,
biggest, at least on the West Coast, we have a far less communities than say in the Midwest and like the South
yeah.
and that kind of.
Unfortunately, I think largely has to deal with legalities around like zoning and land use and all of that. I think there's been probably quite a few tiny house communities shut down. I know we've had a couple that we've looked into doing that were shut down and whatnot. So definitely, it's not. They're much more strict in like Washington, Oregon, California compared to some other states. Um, Obviously,
Yeah,
like New
you're
York and some of the
typically in the urban areas, you're going to find more zoning. I talk a lot
yeah,
about the building standards, which has everything to do with the building, and
yep,
the land zoning is everything to do with what's allowed on the
yep,
land. Our industry has really tackled building standards, but zoning laws, let's just say there's 4 building standards in the
yep,
country:
yep,
NFPA, ANSI, IRC, and HUD. And I can explain more about it. It's not what I'm focusing on today because I have a whole section in my Go Tiny
yep,
Academy where I talk about it. But
yep,
the zoning law, there's like 30,000 building departments around the country. That's every city, every county,
yeah,
all of that. So the law, and then within each one of them, there's different zoning, like R1, R2,
yeah,
multifamily, you name it. So
yeah,
agriculture.
yep. Yeah, it doesn't make it easy, especially when they start making it harder and harder and more restrictions. So that's why I think, obviously it is plausible to do it over here in the West Coast, but it also takes a lot more time to do anything. Like, in Texas, you can dream up a project and get it done, almost the same day. Whereas over here, at least in Oregon, it's like it takes years sometimes to just get anything approved. So,
Us too. And we're nothing tiny home related, but we're waiting for a project, and the whole waiting point is actually the utility company. Nothing
okay,
to do with the actual home.
okay,
So, if you have to put in water, sewer, and electrical, you're gonna have to wait. So of course, in our industry, if anyone hasn't figured it out yet, there's a lot of love and joy about these homes and how well they're designed. One of the biggest things that we're dealing with is where to put them. So
yeah,
anyone here still looking for land, put in looking. And if you already have land, say, looking or living, like if you already have it, great, then you're already living on it. Looking, yep, looking, very common. I love it. Texas RV certified is most of our tiny home village. I know we're jealous. Okay, of you of Texas people. I love it. My friends just did Gather and Create, Indigo River Tiny Homes, which is
okay,
great. They
yeah,
have a really cool event that's called Gather and Create last, I think, May.
okay,
And they just decided to do it, which is not common that builders throw on their own events. So they
yeah,
really
yeah.
did that. Anyone in Texas, I guess it's Dawn, definitely check out Indigo River Tiny Homes. They're amazing, and we want to support. I think they had 400 people. They want to
Nice.
obviously
Don
grow
was there.
numbers. Yeah.
That's
Let's see.
awesome.
So we got looking, have land, but not on it. Okay. And then I was there. Oh, cool. Oh, Dom was there. Yay. It was fun. It was sweet. A little
Yeah,
hot
that's
for my
awesome.
California taste, but I made through.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it'd be good to talk a little bit more about the global conference that's coming up this end of
Cool.
this month, because this is really exciting. There's so many cool speakers. Where do you begin?
Yeah, I know that's the challenge. And the speaker lineup, the agenda is probably about 95% complete now, which is super awesome. I'm glad to see it kind of coming to dialed in and whatnot. And one of the sessions that I'm super excited about, which Lindsay helped facilitate, is the Thea Talk with Dan and Brad. And they're gonna be chatting about kind of all the ongoings on that they have, that they're doing over at I mean, yeah, you could probably speak to it just briefly,
Yes.
but not touch on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So really the international, so remember how I said there's 4 building standards for NFPA, which is an RV. Then there's ANSI, which is RV park model. So those are 2 your RV, but they're known for temporary living. They've always been known for temporary living. We're not going to be changing those standards anytime soon. And it'd be better for us to create our own, meaning, yes, we have the wheels. Yes, we're mobile. But as you've already shared about luxury tiny homes, we're talking, it's a luxury just having a 2x4 wall. Okay. Because in
Mhm.
an RV, you know about the building standards. What is it, like an R5 for a park model in the
Yeah,
wall?
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty low.
It's small. We're like a 2x3, right? So your insulation's also small. You're going to be running a lot more heating and cooling because they're building to a temporary building standard that's been around. I don't know how long it's been around, but it's been around probably before I was born.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
on
then
that.
we have the other one. Now we kind of move into different territory where we create a IRC, which is International Residential Code. It's called modular, prefab, factory built, built in a factory as if it was built on site, brought to the location and put on foundation. No wheels involved at all. And then the final one is HUD, which is a housing urban development. That's your manufactured home. And some tiny home builders, including California Tiny House, which is Nick speaking? Yeah, Nick speaking.
Yeah. Hmm.
Cool. So what's really cool about Nick, and I hope he talks about it on his presentation, he's gone above and beyond and said, all right, I'm going to design a tiny home that can also meet HUD standard and also get certified to HUD standard, which is no easy task.
Yep.
They come in with a fine tooth comb on your factory, your
Yep.
processes, your quality control, and they inspect every inch of that home that's being built.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the good news is for anyone that has restrictions away from temporary, you can put a HUD or an IRC or something
Yep.
built to foundation.
Yep.
So that's a big reason why if you can't meet it with these temporary building standards, we can meet it with these other ones. Okay, so gave you that thumbnail sketch. What Dan and Brad and I will be facilitating are going to be speaking about is really the confluence of the International Code Council that manages the International Residential Code, which is adopted by every state except for Wisconsin for your residential building standard. Now, in the case of like California, we call it the California Building Code, but the basis of it is the IRC. Zach, is it Oregon Building Code, OBC? Or is it just IRC in
We
your
just go
state?
by the IRC here. Yeah.
Okay. Every state's a little different. In California, we call it the CRC and the CBC. So
Yeah.
whatever state you're in, they're either called the IRC or whatever your state thing is called. But every state except for Wisconsin has it. So wouldn't it be cool if tiny homes had their own building standard that could be embedded into the IRC code, which is already adopted by every state except for Wisconsin? We can't call it a national standard like the HUD is a national standard because it's adopted state by state, even jurisdiction by jurisdiction. But the good news is when they adopt the new building code, like whatever, some of the like, we're on the current 2018 building code, even though it could be 2020, right? It takes a little
Yep.
while for
Yeah.
states or jurisdictions to catch up to the
Yeah.
codes that come out. So
Yeah.
once it gets embedded into this code, all of a sudden, the opportunities for placement, financing, go on. Like, and now you
Yeah,
can talk
yeah,
to your builder and go crazy and have so much fun. So
yeah, super cool. Yeah,
we'll be talking about that.
that'll definitely be a big pivotal moment inside of the tiny house on wheels world for sure. So
Absolutely. For everyone that's been like struggling with regards to where to place it. Now, people are like, when's that going to happen? Not so sure. Maybe a year, but we're basically going through this process of a whole committee that I've applied for. I don't know if you guys applied for it, but I've applied to be on the committee.
cool.
And
Okay.
they are welcoming because they're looking for stakeholders across, they're not just looking for only builders. They're not looking for
Yep.
only tiny home people that live in tiny homes. They
Yep.
want a broad stakeholder base,
Yeah. Yeah.
people that use them, people that build them, people that supply product to them, all the things. So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that makes
cool.
sense.
And that's going to happen on Friday at 3:30, just to kind of clear this.
Perfect. Yeah. Probably Pacific time,
Yes,
right?
Pacific time. We are all in Pacific time. So,
Yeah.
Susan, I love you said I'm dreaming of a tiny home which I can place in my daughter's backyard in about 5 years. I will probably be dealing with all sorts of zoning regulations with this. So, Susan, in 5 years' time, this standard that's being created is going to help break down so many more barriers. I forgot where you were. I think was that in Texas? No, you're Dawn. Oh, Susan, yeah, oh cool. Where are you nowadays, Susan? She'll get back to the chat. Okay, so let's think about some other. I know you've got some amazing keynote speakers, all the awesome celebrities in the house. So who would be your top picks to chat about?
Oh man, let's see here. Let's see. Well, we'll have Jay Schaefer coming back again, and we have Zach Giffen and John as well from Tiny House Nation. So it's our first time having John on as well, which will be super fun. I love the interaction between the two of them, which will be really fun to kind of get to see that live. I'm
It's
excited for that
hilarious.
for
Just a
sure.
little, I was actually I should be coming out pretty soon on their podcast because we
Okay,
recorded it a few months ago, but they're
super
like,
cool.
they as they record them, then they edit them and then they release them. So
Oh,
mine should be coming out soon. And
okay.
there's John Weisbarth. Oh, both Zach and John together.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be
That's
fun.
great.
Yeah,
That'll
yeah.
be fun.
I'm probably as far as entertainment, that's probably going to be one of my favorite ones, and also a lot of wealth of knowledge too. But just the I'm sure I'll get some good laughs out of it. So
And then we'll just go from the top. We got Mr.
yeah,
J there, the
yep,
pioneer
yep,
himself, visionary
yep,
godfather of tiny homes.
yep. And we have Alex with Pacific West Tiny Homes or Pacific West Associates, but they're one of the certifying companies for the ANSI code, and that's super impactful because they are pro tiny homes, which is huge compared to like RVIA. They've kind of bounced back and forth, but a lot of the time they're not very pro tiny homes, even though people are building tiny homes and getting them certified through RVIA. The cool part about Alex and his team is they're actually trying to help people build safe tiny homes, which is really great.
And a follow up on that. Do you know why the RVA is not that into it? Have you ever heard this? This is
Uh,
from multiple sources and various people, but this is like real deal. So if you're in the RVIA and your whole industry is based on NFPA and ANSI, the
yep,
whole point is temporary living. Now,
yeah,
granted, after I say all of this, are there RV parks where people are living in their RVs full time?
yep,
Heck yeah. But ultimately, the way the building standard was created is really for a temporary living. I know
yep,
at this point,
yep.
people might have commented on my incredible tabs. I'm just going to I just had a moment there. I was like, look at all my tabs. So we're going to simplify things for people's brains. So what's interesting about the RVIA is that they didn't really love the fact that all these tiny homes were being built to
Yep.
that standard
Yeah.
when people were living in them full time. They're like, that's
Yeah.
not what the point is. And yet there's RV parks. So it's a little confusing. They've also been the ones to show up to block cities and jurisdictions saying, yes, we'll approve homes that are built to ANSI or NFPA to be lived in full time. So it's a hit or miss. So I'm with you. You got to work with a certifier that's like in no way question, shape, or form, or like we're like, yes, tiny homes all the way. So our
Yeah.
home is certified by PacWest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the same response that RVIA pretty much gave us, and we actually got held up into limbo stage when we were trying to get approved through RVIA when we were building tiny homes, and that was basically what they ended up coming down to, which is the entire reason why we're wanting to create the standard like you guys are working
Yes.
on, and having some sort of standard that allows for small living and on wheels, but long term or like full time is going to be
Yeah.
huge.
Basically, the IRC code has never said anything about the wheels, but because we're building to a standard, because we don't have our own standard yet, we're building to the one that's closely related to us. We build 2x4 walls, so does RV park models. Well, they can build skinnier walls. Many companies do build bigger. It's just that's what the standard is. So if you only built to the standard, you're kind of subpar. We always talk about ANSI plus, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
that communication going on in the industry. Like, taking one look at even the NFPA requirement, that all you need is you could have staples in your wall, because you can do a
Yeah.
pop-up trailer with canvas walls. Yeah. So we can
Yeah.
talk all about certification. That one you got to check out. Already talked about John and Zach going to be joining us. This is so exciting. Oh, we got Victron in the house. Mark Stevens.
Yep, that's right.
You want to
Yeah.
know a lot about solar? Victron. In fact, we're doing a project right now. It's my very first solar project for a client, and it's not been easy for me to understand it, for my builder to understand it, and then for the solar installer to educate us about it. It's fire in a wire, people. Like, you don't mess around with off-grid solar. Did you guys install solar?
We did. In the very beginning, we were actually like kind of like creating and putting together the entire solar system and building it like integrated into the tiny house. But what we realized going forward, if I were to do it again, I would probably have like a freestanding system, I think, just because you can save space and when you don't need it, and it's also a lot easier to upgrade or fix and replace parts and so on.
That's a good
If
point.
you get it like super dialed in, then I think it's reasonable to have it integrated into your actual house. But for just standard, like if you don't know if you're going to need it, then I like the
Plug and play.
yeah, the plug and play. And it's also nice because if you're not wanting to pay for solar at the same time you're paying for your tiny home, or let's say you don't have the funds to also pay for the upgraded solar system that you're looking for, but you don't need it right away, then you can buy that later on. But you can also, I guess, just carve out a space for your solar as well. So
Perfect. So we got all kinds of people. Maybe we'll kind of like top level what Matt's going to talk about.
yeah, I don't have their
Oh, descriptions. All right,
yeah, their
cool.
descriptions, their itineraries. I do have them. I just have to look it up.
That's all right. And I know Lee Para really focuses a lot on the zoning conversation, like really helping people with,
Yep.
Talk about zoning. And then I know Michael Carmona, for anyone that wants to like check out insurance, they're based in Oregon. They are our insurance company. We need his picture. But they're great to find out how to insure your tiny home. Oh, and really kind of quickly, there was one person that was building. So super important. If you do ever want to legally place your home or get it permitted or go into an RV park, certification is so key. And as you're building that is the best time to certify. So just want to make sure I say that versus after the fact, because that's a little difficult. They can't see what's inside the wall and all that jazz, right? As you guys built your home, you had inspections through the phone throughout the process.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Oh, what's this tiny away? Interesting. Design tiny homes. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, which one are you hovering over?
Jeff, yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that'll be a fun talk. Let me see. I can pull up let's see,
We
his
got Zach
the talk
there.
title is
While he's pulling that up, I will mention Till is with Tiny Easy, and their software program's amazing for people that want to DIY their own home and have an easy software system versus learning CAD or SketchUp and such. They're going to be talking about their 3D house designer. I use it. Zach uses it. So super exciting about that. And I did want to point out, this is the coolest thing about this for me. As a person that's leading the industry, what I love about meeting other speakers is this guy, Adam, lives in the Bay Area. Well, he knows a lot more about what's going on in his neck of the woods, where I'm like 2 hours north of him. So I want to connect up with him and find out what's happening in Oakland. So what's really cool about a couple weeks before we gather with all of you in the public, the speakers get a chance to get together for a power hour and network and connect, because that is where the magic happens. There's just always an opportunity where, like, Zach, Jason, and I have all collaborated and done projects together. So, we have an industry that's growing, and we can't all do everything by ourselves,
Yep, it's true.
right?
Definitely, which is exciting.
All right. Did you have anything on anyone?
Yeah, so I found it. We can go through. So like Matt from Australia, as he says. That's a terrible Australian accent, but let's see here. He is going to be speaking on. Oh, I just had it. Maybe this is not. Oh yeah, he's going to be speaking on like ecotourism to alleviate housing affordability and so on. So it'll be a
Oh,
really unique and cool presentation of the cool stuff that he's doing over in Australia right now, which will be, yeah, I think that'll be a very unique perspective on how to, I guess, achieve his goals, which is, the eco tourism to alleviate the housing affordability and so on. So,
awesome. And I
yeah.
love how it looks like Lena is going to be focusing on living less and simplicity,
Yep,
which
yep,
is
that's right.
always good and very
Yeah,
popular,
yeah,
right?
for sure. And a couple of the speakers were waiting on photos from them. That's why they're not
Right.
not showing up. But
Come
um
on, people, get on it. They're all busy.
I know. So that's always the challenge of being on this side of scheduling things, is that you're
Of
kind of at their
course.
mercy. So let's
So
see.
we've got
So,
Jeff from
yep,
co-founder Tiny Away.
yep. So he's going to be talking about how like the ever accelerating pursuit of happiness that's often tied to material possessions, and how kind of rethinking that and reshaping how our homes should not be basically this place that we just are filling it with consumerism, but a place that's more of like yeah, like refreshing spot to live and so on. So his title talk is going to be big dreams for tiny houses. So
I love this evolution because here's the thing. I grew up, like, I was born 1970, and I grew up in the full capitalism, just, go big or go home, shop, shop, shop before you drop or till you drop.
yeah.
And did it make us happier? It's a really good opportunity to kind of take a look back at, and we're the one country that has like a show on hoarders. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually a thing, whereas other countries do not have that. There's actually
Yeah.
a book that shows all the possessions that people take out of their homes. They show from like Mongolia to Japan to, so anywhere there's more of a Western, populace, there's so much more stuff in the home.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like we were happier, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's where the tiny homes have a big opportunity to challenge the status quo, support those of us that are into it, but we also may feel a little bit alone sometimes, especially if our family or friend circle isn't really on the same page. So for anyone that might feel like, oh, I think I need some additional friends. I'm not saying ditch your friends that, have big garages and plenty of stuff, but you might want to also find new ones that have that like-minded thought pattern, because then that can really support you, especially if you're getting just into it. I know I still have the like, I should be in a big home because that's equals success in our culture. But I'm actively choosing a lifestyle where it's smaller because I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So we'll
definitely.
go
That's
back
huge.
right on. All right. We covered Till. We got Alex. We got some other Joshua, DIY enthusiasts
Yeah,
and builders nationwide.
let's see what he's going to be talking about. So a lot of these different speakers, like they're so well versed in a lot of different areas in the tiny house space that I kind of got to figure out what their actual presentation's going to be on.
A lot
Otherwise,
of them are like, just show up because they're going to talk about some great things. I know
yeah,
Joshua's in
let's see.
California. He's been selling a lot of the DIYers buying from trailers from Tiny House Basics, which is the name of his company. Oftentimes that really helps people get going on their whole project, cost wise, quality wise, all of that. So
Yeah,
super cool.
his talk's going to be tiny house trailers, everything you need to know to make your build successful. And it's, kind of a little bit probably about his story and how he's a passionate tiny house dweller and author, and how he is definitely an expert on the tiny house trailer. And he is a big advocate for customizing each trailer to fit the needs of your tiny home. So,
And so important, your trailer is your foundation of your
yep,
home.
yep,
Really key. Okay, so I took a look at Natalie, and then went
yep,
a little bit more. I'm loving what Natalie's all about. We're talking
yeah,
permaculture. This is my background. So like this picture says it all. If you want to get your hands on building, this is the crew, Wild Abundance out of North
yeah,
Carolina. Oh, wait, Asheville? Wait, I forgot. Is it North Carolina? Yes, Asheville, North Carolina. Great work on, teaching people power drills. They even have a women's only carpentry if you feel like you want to have your own, that specific gender. Um, love the cobbing. Super cool. I've actually cobbed. Have you ever cobbed?
I haven't, never caught.
Cobbing is so cool. I actually did this thing where we were cobbing this wall, and it's just like you're just putting mud on the wall with
Okay,
straw, clay, and all this kind of, it's like straw, clay, soil,
okay,
and
yep.
in a certain mix and all that. And then I ended up scooping out a little thing where you could put a candle in, right? So
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
that kind of stuff. You're basically working with a giant thing of clay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Material's a little different. So that's what she's doing there. So anyone doing natural building, this is definitely the course to, or the
Yeah,
seminar to come check out.
yep.
But we got
And
more.
healthy
Look at
building
that.
and all that. So,
Okay, we got that many
yep,
more. All right, cool. We'll zip through people.
yep.
Vina,
Yeah,
designer.
let's see what Venus going to be talking about. She is going to be talking about, here we go, dreams for a tiny house community in Ojai. So she's going to be talking about her tiny house community that she wants to put in Ojai, which is actually on the West Coast. It's in California. And like we were talking about earlier, um, it's needed. So,
Yes, I have so many communities. Just because California is hard doesn't mean we can't keep, it's what people want. So
yeah.
if you ever create a community, there's no question. In fact, literally 15 minutes from me is an RV park on Blue Lakes. It's a natural spring, Blue Lakes, small,
Wow. Okay.
no big boats. And the RV park is allowing tiny homes, beautiful shaded areas,
Yeah.
gorgeous. I was like, oh my God. So we're putting our home there. We're going to Airbnb it.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Wow.
Yeah, no, on top of it, to find an RV park that you can Airbnb your
Yeah,
tiny.
that's what I was thinking. Wow. That's
So,
awesome.
I didn't mention the name, but I did mention the lake. Talk to me
Yeah.
about that if anyone's interested, because they are looking for more spaces and more investor owned tiny homes. Cool.
Cool.
Actually, Patrick did his homework. I have not done my homework yet, which is pitching a video to promote the global conference, and
Yep.
love it.
Yeah.
He's out of, he was in Panama City with the scenery behind him.
Yep. Yep.
He's bringing Latin America to us people.
That's right. Yeah, he's doing like eco resort villages down in Central America and whatnot, and a lot of the homes that he does are small homes, and so fits in perfectly with the tiny house world and whatnot. Most of them are on foundation, but definitely built some really cool small home communities down there. So
Yes, cool. And you'll be learning more about that. There's
yep.
my girl Trisha. So I just saw Trisha's home roll up in Colorado at People's Fest, and they had never stayed in it because where
Okay.
they were building it, they could only build where they were building it, not
Okay.
stay in it. So when
Okay.
they pulled up into the event, it was the first night. Her two kiddos and herself and her honey were all going to stay in it. And it was super
That's
exciting
awesome.
to see that
Okay.
come to fruition.
Okay.
I literally filmed her when she was like, still in build mode. But
That's
Trisha
funny.
is all about organizing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
she'll be
She's
talking
gonna
about that.
teach us how to keep our tiny home clean, so that's important.
Yeah, cleaned, organized. If you need some guidance on how to make it happen, okay. We didn't know these guys would come out. So, I saw their first home build. You just saw sticks, and then all of a sudden they came on the scene, Heather and Kevin Fritz with Fritz Tiny Homes, and they're a powerhouse couple. They will definitely be talking about luxury tiny homes and
Yep.
actually how to price them.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I think their top title is "Ignore the price per square foot." And there's some sort of a tag on there. I'd have to find it, but
Yeah, this was a
definitely,
great one for anyone that's like, this whole pricing thing. Let me just, I love my little story. Sorry, you have a $3,000 fridge or a $1,000 fridge? 3,000
yep,
square foot home, 300 square foot home. If you put a $3,000 fridge in a 300 square foot home, what does it do to the price per square foot?
yeah,
Makes it
go,
go up.
yeah,
So when people want to understand about pricing, the materials you choose, are we talking rental white or the $3,000 refrigerator? Because if you're
Yep.
doing that $3,000 refrigerator, you're probably buying appliances that are also equal in luxury. I mean,
Yep.
what was the expense of a regular stove that you put in your homes? Just the stove,
Yeah. I mean, uh,
1,000?
yeah, probably something like that. Like 500 to 1,000. That was like before crazy price increases. So
Right, before crazy price. And so now that same thing might be more in the $1,500 to $2,000.
yeah,
But if it's what you want, so everything, it's all price is relative to you and your budget and what you can afford and what you value and all
yep,
those things. So I
yep.
love that they're going to be bringing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's super important, and it's kind of a topic that a lot of people shy away from because they, I guess builders are kind of, not ashamed, but they don't want to just come out and be like, "Hey, this is how much it is," and everybody's like, "That's insane for such a small tiny home or whatever." And it's like, well, realistically, like there's so much that goes into it. So I think it'll be really impactful talk there.
And here's how I kind of address this. When I was at I was at an RV park. They were trying to launch the community. It didn't quite work because of the owners, not the builder. I had
Yep.
$1 million of capital of tiny homes that I was walking people in and out of, like right next to me. It was like a dream come true.
Yeah. Okay.
The area didn't quite support it. That's what we learned.
Okay.
It's a pricey, expensive lesson to learn, but we learned it. And
Yeah.
so one of the things I learned is that if you're paying a certain amount of money per month in rent, probably somewhere in the $1,500 to $2,000, then getting somewhere in the $100,000 home, which is a decent budget to be able to get a lot of what you want. Once again, it all comes down. Do you want this like 7-foot folding accordion door? Those are pricey.
Hmm.
Beautiful, but pricey, right? So
Yeah.
it's a trade-off on, well, I want that door, so I'm going to probably go less on the appliances, or if you've got the budget to do it all. Some of the homes that have rolled out, some of the factories are in the $200,000 range
Yeah.
because of the materials and the size of the home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what was interesting is for the rate of the RV, let's just say you have a $1,500, is kind of what I was specking out for rent right now. If you get into a tiny home that you finance and your finance fee is about $500, and let's say your land rent fee is 1,000. I know that may be higher for some people depending on where you're at in the country. But let's just take the West Coast for a moment. $1,000, not too crazy. At least what you're doing is, instead of paying $1,500 out the door, everything to someone else, you're recouping at least a quarter of that per month for yourself, right? And then you
Yeah.
also may be teeing up to get your own land to live and all that stuff. So
Mm.
those are
Yep.
some of the just specs on, what I've heard also people like, I can go take that money and buy a home and, and of course, location, location, location.
Yeah, yeah, location, location, location. And then also people need to understand as well that some of the loans for tiny homes, they're like 5, 10, 15 year loans versus like, the average 30-year mortgage. People don't really acknowledge or realize like, hey, like in 10 years, my payment's gone. And then I
Yes.
can literally start saving all that money and either go buy a home or go buy my land or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
that is pretty impactful there. So
Who here wants to buy land? I guess we have looking. Are they wanting to just buy land, or you community? So land would be the one like just me or me and my family, or community in the chat. I'm just so curious because this next person we're going to talk about is all about community. She rebrands RV parks. In fact, she's got one down in Southern California. Her name's Jenny Crane, executive director of Rebuilding Green, dear friend of mine. Actually, as a broker, a tiny home broker, I sit between the builder, manufacturer, and dealer, and you, the buyer. Literally, I'm in the middle saying, hey, who do we've got over here? And I would imagine you probably have the same thing, Zach, right? You guys are in the middle often. Are you affiliate, or do they buy through you?
um, we don't actually do that many like facilitations like that. We'll often
Okay.
just make an intro and then we'll kind of let them hash it out
You
and
do
whatnot.
consult.
I'm sure, yeah,
Okay.
we do consulting and whatnot, but
Good to know.
we through Tiny Heirloom we realized that we'd love to just have kind of like people facilitate their own conversation. We didn't yeah, I guess we love helping people get along on their journey, but we didn't want to, I guess, dip into that spot.
And
So
you've been there, done that, right? You were
been
the
there,
builder,
done it.
so you've been
Yeah,
there, done
yeah,
that. So
yep,
important. All right, let me see where people like, yes, oh my gosh, so many community. Okay,
yeah,
so for
mostly
those that
community.
said community, how many? I love it. Resident owned, Susan, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Instead of this like, pay someone else, you're just shifting the rental cycle to someone else. I get you. We've got a lot of work to do on that because there are some investors out there, but they're looking at it as I'm going to create a community, which is great. But if you still have the like rent, landowner renter model, then that still sits in that model. And I do think there's a ton of work that we can do with deed restriction. We can do social impact investing. We can also do land trusting, which is kind of similar. Like you take a piece of property and secure it as, we'll never build on it, or it's more of like, more of a land trust. You can do that with actual buildings as well. I love it. Rent and resident owned mixed community. Perfect. So quantity, how many people think, do you want to live in a community of 10 people, 50 people, 100? Have you thought about that number or that size? Out of curiosity, just put the number in the chat. So Jenny Crane is 100% the person that is not only gotten City of San Diego approved for movable tiny homes, but also is working on a community. Unfortunately, because it's taken so long, guess what they're going to have to do to it? They're going to have to turn it into an Airbnb short-term rental right away to recoup all the money that it's taken, not 1 year, not 2 years, but 3 years now to get that thing launched. Now, once that thing has some track record and some financial, they've got some other additional land where they could develop as a full-time residential scenario. But that's just a reality of numbers. Cool. I love it. 10 to 20 to 25 depends on land size and zoning. 15. Cool. All right. So we're racking it down to the next 7 people. Jennifer, I love
Yeah,
Teacup.
yeah. She's always got so much energy, and it's a lot of fun to hear her talk. And she's so passionate about it and really creative as well. I love that she's got such an eye for the aesthetic of the tiny
Yes.
homes. That's really cool.
Is the aesthetic. These are some of their homes they build. Look at that, gorgeous. So, and featured on all these awesome places. So definitely
Yep,
take a look at her.
yep.
And then JP and Elise, another amazing builder.
Yeah, yeah, up in Canada as well, and they definitely have a very like clean looking, and per their name, minimaliste. They speak a lot of French, so they he will have a French accent, which is amazing, and they've literally created probably some of the coolest tiny homes out there. So
And it's so good to hear you say minimaliste. Not, I'm actually saying it with Italian accent. That is so. You did the Australian one. I botched the French one. We're doing great. I'm like, what's all this? I thought this was a global conference. Okay, so yeah, definitely checked out Minimaliste. I think I'm saying that right. Oh, okay.
Killed
Boop.
it.
Alexis and Christian,
Yeah.
UNC Tiny House Expedition out there, YouTube channel. They were the ones that broke through the whole living tiny legally. And their YouTube channel is on fire. They have the beginner's guide to tiny houses. So what are they going to be talking about?
Ooh, you put me on the spot here again. All right, let me
I'll
find it.
just show some of these guys. They have got so much. They cover the events. They have e-courses. They traveled 55,000 miles around the country. They probably have more than that miles. When I met them, we had traveled 2 months at that point. We now have 15,000 miles, and we're not going to do more than that. That is wonderful. They had a smaller home than we did. Learned a lot from that. But they do a lot of resources out of their cute little home in Bend, Oregon. Plus, let's see, I think e-learning. If you guys want to check out a really good YouTube channel, here we go. Tiny House Expedition. Look at that. They're at 392,000 subscribers. They're the ones without the cute little son. And they really do a lot of just go out and find cool people and talking about their story of going tiny. Yay. And Alexis is a very big advocate for advocating for legalizing tiny homes. So she's a board member on the Tiny Home Industry Association. Anything more that they
Yeah.
kind of mentioned for you?
Yeah, they do a lot there. Also, the authors of that the book, and yeah, they do a lot of really cool, amazing stuff in the tiny house world. But the presentation title for them is Tiny Living Right for You Right Now? And despite the many lifestyle benefits tiny homes can offer, they're not for everyone or even for all phases of life. Alexis and Christian will guide you through key considerations to help you determine if tiny living is right for you right now. And if so, they'll provide guidance on what kind of small space home best suits your priorities. So
Love
it
it.
sounds like a really, really helpful kind of. I think that's some of the details that some people don't actually think through all the time. Sometimes people are like, I want to go tiny and it's right now, but I love that they're kind of like, is going tiny right for you right now, and kind of implying like it might not be this moment, but like start prepping for it. So
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question in the chat. Everyone share what's your timing? Are you do a, less than 6 months to a year or more, 2 years? I think one person already shared they were like 2 years out.
mhm.
No, 5 years out. That's right.
Yep.
Susan, you mentioned 5 years. So yeah, put in the chat where you're at on the years and such. And then we'll go to Jill. I love Jill. Jill was the one that when I first got into the industry, little did I know I'd be diving into this industry. I really was impressed with all the work that she had done to put together search tiny house villages for people that are looking for places to go. She did it, and she did it with like being the single mom with her 2 kids and
Yeah.
nonprofit, not an easy journey.
Yep. Yep. For sure. Yeah, so she's going to be covering learning the top 10 DIY tiny house building tips. So I think that'll be
Awesome.
a
To
good one.
avoid common pitfalls. I used to
Yeah.
teach about the top 10 tips of hiring the builder. I mean, I haven't even figured out what I'm going to talk about yet. No, I'm just kidding. I'll definitely talk about the 4 types of tiny homes because I really feel like that
Yeah.
conversation and understanding that is so key.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we move on to Erin. Oh, yay,
Yep.
another awesome organizer out there with
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
own cool I know she has her own course,
Yeah.
Organized for Good. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know Trisha, I don't think Trisha has a course, so she's in Colorado. If she wants to like have someone come out and work with her, does she? We'll see. We'll see what each of them do. But I know that
Yeah.
Trisha has a course.
Yep. Yeah. Trisha does. And then yeah, Erin's gonna be kind of. I love kind of the way that she packages her presentation too. So and she kind of
Yeah,
walks you through
no,
step by step and kind of the common mishaps for people, and ways to you know I guess organize and declutter. Basically, it's kind of like
yep.
if you have a T-shirt from high school or whatever, and you just can't part ways with it. It's like just take a little snipping of it and put it in your collectibles little box or drawer or whatever, and then that way you don't have to keep a whole T-shirt, but you can have your memories keepsakes. That type of a unique kind of approach to I guess, yeah, helping you be able to release, because I think so many people, they don't actually ever. I think that a lot of people struggle with like letting go of all the stuff that they have. So
Yeah, and when you want to downsize and go tiny, simplicity. And I'm not also working with Feng Shui as my clients' homes are being built. We're going to actually write words inside, well, like
okay.
before you cover it up.
Okay.
All kinds of cool stuff like I'm getting into. So I'll probably talk a little bit. This is me now, Lindsay Wood, the tiny home lady, on
Yep.
a mission to develop 100,000 tiny homes.
Yeah.
I've got 99,990 to go.
Well, you're getting there.
I'm getting there, right? I've knocked off 10. So really, I'm going to cover the 3 pillars of going tiny: the land, the finance, and build that you need to know about, the 4 types of tiny homes, the building standards, and how to weave that in to understanding the zoning laws. Zoning's a big one, but I at least guide you onto like what are the steps to take to figure out, especially with regards to the land.
Yep.
And then the major thing that I love doing is hot seats. I call them tiny home hot seats. I call them, we just gather where you are. So anyone that actually wants to come out, be on screen with me and share where you're at with your journey will really help, because other people may find themselves also on a similar path. So we'll probably do, if we have enough time, like at least 2 or 3 people is my goal. Because I think that's some golden stuff. A lot of presentations that I've done, my husband's here. Come on in, babe. This is Eric,
What's up,
Hey,
Eric?
the Go
How's
Tiny
it
Man.
going?
hi, hi.
All right, we're
Yeah.
almost down to the last few, and I know we're at the 6 o'clock, so let's talk about Nick Mosley, one of my dearest friends. Um,
Yep. Nick's awesome.
yeah, Nick and I, like I said, we did the 2.5 hour Q&A. It was the Nick and Lindsay show. We're not doing that for this one, but Nick is really, awesome, huge advocate for advocating for legalizing tiny homes.
Yeah.
Um, Notice that 25-year mortgage that just came along when I talked about that HUD home that was designed to meet both the RV standard and HUD. This is it. This is their actual models that they have. 320 square feet for a specific reason, 2 doors for a specific reason. Is Nick going to talk about design?
I don't
Sure.
think he's filled out the form yet telling us what he's going to talk
Okay.
about. So his is a
Nick is Nick.
surprise.
You'll just get a Nick
Yeah.
experience. But like I said, the 2 doors, if people don't, I'm sure he'll talk about it. I will actually text him and say, look, talk about the HUD thing because
Yeah.
that goes all over the nation. That is a national code. So if
Yep.
manufactured home is allowed and you can't get one from a builder that isn't allowed because of your zoning, then
Yep.
at least a HUD unit can be allowed. So,
Yep.
and look at these
Yep.
beautiful homes he makes. Yeah.
Wow. He does a great job. We love
There
Nick.
they are. They have a crew out of Fresno. Okay,
Yep.
so cruising right along. Jason, you guys are hosts.
Yeah, we're just the hosts. We
Just the hosts. They're the glue that keeps it all together. And so we did that. 6 o'clock. Boom. Does anyone have any questions? I know that was a longer. Was that helpful for everyone to hear about each of these speakers? Let me know in the chat. Would love to know your feedback on 100%. Okay, we got 100%. Yay. Anyone was, less than 100? Because it's hard to not, yes, there's a little blurb, but then there's the people that we know. And I feel like if I didn't know them, you knew them.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Awesome. Dawn, Tragle, Ron, you all said yes, 100%. That's so great to know
Good.
because this is the community. These are the leaders that are helping. And you know what? You might become the next leader, right? Based
Yeah,
on
it's
your
true.
interests. Who here wants to be in the movement and guiding the movement? So this is the best place to go. If you haven't gotten your ticket, tell us a little bit more about where ticket prices are right now, because I know we've got, I see some lines through some numbers.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely right now is a good price to pick up your ticket. And thanks, Lindsay, for doing the call to action here. We appreciate that. And yeah, if you go onto our website, you can either pick up a VIP ticket on the early bird special right there for 25 bucks, or and that'll give you full access to the entire event and even basic access into the community. So you can jump into the community with some access there, or you can jump in with the VIP ticket with membership, and that's definitely going to give you kind of the all access to everything. So that gives you access to the entire community, which is also access to our digital library of resources like calculators and guides and ebooks and all of that, as well as some courses and so on. And the best part about the full membership there is that'll get you access to all the past recordings of all of our other events and all of our workshops and everything. So that's literally hundreds of hours of content there that you can just go through and so on. And then yeah, the last one there is just the consultation. If you want to do a consultation with us and get a ticket as you do that, then that'd be that last option there. So
That is great because I know I charge $250 an hour for my consultation. So getting that for 99 and all those resources, even if it's like if you're in the just starting out mode, that's a great thing to get. You don't have to dive into everything at once, but find the things that work exactly for where you're at in your journey. In fact, I'm going to take the Go Tiny Academy that I've got, which is 6 training modules, and I'm going to start creating mini courses because
nice.
I think people want to sort of sip on
Yeah,
information and
yeah.
what matches where they're at in that moment. So
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's super
awesome.
important. So, definitely
Yay.
you should for sure make that and take all of your learnings and all of your education and package it because people are definitely needing that. So,
Great, you guys. All right. Anyone have any final questions that we haven't covered? Really wanted to focus on the Global Tiny House Conference showing up September 28th and 29th,
yep, and now we have
Thursday and a Friday.
yep, and we have a pre-show on the 27th, so there's going to be some extra content and different sessions on the 27th as well. So definitely stay tuned for that, and we'll be releasing some more info soon.
And that's for the VIP tickets holders only though, right?
No, that
No.
one,
Okay.
the other 2 days are VIP ticket holders only. So
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Great. Yeah, get in the VIP. It's always I always call VIP very important project.
yeah,
If your project is important to you, even if you're a number of years out, the reason why you're even here, because if you're a number of years out, you're like, I'll get to that later. But if you're here, that means that maybe it might move quicker if you get the information that you need. Like,
yep,
if someone absolutely knows I'm going to retire on this date and then I need to get it, but oftentimes if you're a year out, some of those builders, are backlogged a good year.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and based on the
seriously,
one that's right for you, figuring out design, all that
yeah,
kind of stuff. So,
yep, for
okay, when
sure.
are the hours and time of the live event?
So they're all in Pacific time. Well, I guess you can convert them to your time, but I'm gonna tell you in Pacific time, and it'll start at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it'll go till roughly 6 p.m. Some of the days vary a little bit, but that's the general gist of the time slots in Pacific time.
Cool. Okay. And then going to explore all of their speakers and their websites. Awesome. I'm glad you guys get
Yeah.
you motivated and ready for what's to come. And thank you so much, Ron. Awesome episode. Stoked for the conference. So this was another amazing first episode of Let's Talk Tiny. What a
Woo!
great way to launch it. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Zach, for being here and just jumping on and sharing the good news of the innovation that we're all about, right?
Oh
Creating
yeah.
attainable,
Absolutely.
sustainable housing
Yep.
solutions for people and the planet.
Yep, yep, and simplifying your life in the meantime. So, well, yeah, definitely honored to be on the show today, and appreciate that, Lindsay. And it's always fun just chatting with you. So, I feel like we could just talk and talk and talk. So
It's
it's
true.
always
We could go for
fun.
another 2 hours. No, who's ready? No, I'm just kidding. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. Let's talk tiny. Woohoo.
Yep. All
Bye,
right,
everyone.
everybody. Well,